theme I have had going on for the last couple of days has been the question in my mind about what old stories I have playing in my energy field, in my thought patterns. And this is something that I really touch on often within my own spiritual work. But for some reason, it was different the last couple of days. And the difference was in the stark contrast between how I really feel versus the thoughts or feelings that were coming in. So, for example, typically my happy place, if you know me, you know that anything Disney is my happy place. Disney movies, Disney songs, actually going to Disneyland Paris, which I do pretty often because I have an annual pass. So if I'm like in a bad mood, like going there and just seeing the fireworks is something that I love to do. And I decided to go to Disneyland on May the 4th because, you know, huge Star Wars fan. May the 4th be with you kind of situation going on in the theming for the day. And I was on the train and I was thinking that it was very interesting that the reason why I was going this time was not because I needed cheering up or because I really needed to improve my vibration, so to speak. I needed to play or I needed to, you know, be a little less serious in my general mood. I realized that I was already happy, that I was already in a state of alignment with where I needed to be in that very moment. And those of you also who know me know that I don't mind the train, but I really don't like the metro. And so to be able to be content while being on the metro and then on the RER was a pretty significant thing for me to be feeling. I acknowledged that and how pretty amazing that was, and that essentially I was setting the tone for the rest of the day, even though I was going to Disneyland by myself, mind you. And this kind of touches on some of the things that I was talking about in a couple of videos ago where, you know, the idea of being alone and that fear surrounding being alone. Well, I have to say that being alone at Disneyland is not one of those things I fear because I actually really like it. I like to be able to do the things I want to do, to go and see the things I want to see and not have to really talk to anybody else about it and just, you know, sort of spontaneously go wherever I want to go. I had a question that popped up while I was on this train, which was, what if our thoughts are not creating our reality? Because we know in manifestation that is said a lot in the teaching of how to manifest what you want to come into your life, that law of attraction. What if, in fact, the thoughts were actually just pointing you in the direction of where your vibration is going, right? So almost like a runaway train, that if your thought is of something that is, let's say, not favorable, then maybe that's your clue to sort of investigate where that's coming from. So I had a wonderful day at Disneyland, spent tons of time in the little Star Wars area, people watching and having a really great time. And I realized a couple of things. The first thing I realized was that I love my own company. I really do. And the previous video where I was talking about that fear of being alone is very much something that is in my past. And it was almost as if I just needed to give myself that permission to be able to be okay with being on my own in this moment. Now, does that mean I'm going to be alone for the rest of my life and, you know, the big dramatic sweeping, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? No. What this means is that I'm happy and content with where I am right now in this moment. And it seems like a really simple concept, right? Just to be content with where you are. In practice, it's totally different, especially when you're on this journey. So all of that old story sort of fell away, that old story of oh, I have to have somebody, or I really want to be in a relationship, or I really wish I could share this with somebody. All of that story was not there that day. All of that story fell away completely. So instead of doing this fun thing that I did for myself and having it, quote unquote, make me feel better, in fact, it actually made me uncover the truth of where my vibration was on that day, which is I was pretty happy and I was pretty content with where I was in that moment. So fast forward to the next day and, I'm getting some work done. I'm editing some videos. Slowly but surely, my vibration is sort of, I don't want to say that it was decreasing, but, our energy and our vibration and our frequency, it ebbs and flows pretty regularly, right? So when you're doing things that don't necessarily really bring you joy, like, I love putting out content. Editing is fine. I don't hate it, but it's not something I really love doing, right? So as I was doing the editing, I realized I was like, oh, okay, so I'm starting to feel a little bit more of those thoughts coming in of dissatisfaction or whatever it happened to be at that moment. And I'm like, okay. So I started looking at where those thoughts were coming from and why. And this is something that is not new for me. The idea of looking at a story, looking at your thoughts as an observer and really identifying the places in which you are creating stories or making up stories about certain things, right? I was really trying to be present and observe where I was in that moment. And I found myself sort of wanting to be somewhere else. I wanted to be in the ocean or, somewhere in Greece or somewhere in Italy or somewhere else other than where I was at that moment. And yes, of course, going to those places is really awesome and amazing and I love it. But what is it about that moment that I really needed as opposed to really saying like, oh gosh, I feel like I'm crawling out of my skin. I need to go and do something, right? That in and of itself was basically saying to me that, okay, so maybe right now is not the time to be finishing my editing. Maybe now is the right time for me to go out and do something. Maybe go for a walk, maybe call up a friend and go do something, right? Now, granted, I didn't do that, but that was simply because I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I hadn't processed the information yet. So I essentially just went into my meditation, processed a little bit of what I needed to at that moment, and then left it. Had some dinner and then basically just watched some Netflix. So I basically what I did is I escaped. Oh, and then also I started trying to plan my Japan trip that's going to be coming up for next year. Instead of going somewhere, I was like, okay, well, I'm going on this trip next year. So then, I started doing some research and watching some YouTube videos and things like that. So I started following the guidance of what I was feeling. I wasn't feeling like editing anymore. So I stopped doing it and I started doing something else that was really aligned for me. So now, do we always have that luxury? Well, yes and no. I mean, at any given whim, if you're not liking doing what you're doing, can you just stop it and do something else? Technically, yeah, you can. However, we do have this feeling that we have obligations or the sense of obligation. So I'm going to challenge you right now to see how many obligations you can get rid of, because obligations don't serve you in any way. They really don't. How can you turn something that is an obligation into something that you truly want to do? So think about that for a minute. That's as far as I'm going to go with that one right now. I might do another full episode on obligation, but that is something that's really, really important, because people out there are working 9-to-5 jobs that they hate. People are doing things that they really don't like doing most of the hours of the day. And the goal is to be able to then change that ratio. So instead of doing things 80% of your day that you don't like and 20% the things that you do like, switch that ratio so it's 80% of the things that you do like and 20% of the things you don't. So that was what I was going through last night. And today, it was really fascinating because my twin texted me And it wasn't me directly because we have a little group chat going on with some other friends. And there was nothing in the text message that was even remotely bad. There was nothing bad about this text message. It was actually incredibly mundane and benign. But there was one word in there that irritated the absolute crap out of me. And it's really funny because I know this is old, and I know this is something that it came up in my energy field because it needed to. So again, this goes back to that story that we tell ourselves, or that story that we are reliving in our current moment, and it's not actually happening, right? So the word was we, because he was referring to him and his girlfriend. And I was super annoyed by that. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So why am I annoyed by that? Okay, so I had to stop for a minute and really kind of take a look at where that annoyance was coming from. I had to realize that, okay, this is an old program. This is an old program I'm running, let's say. Because right now, in the state that I'm in, I'm happy. And if he's happy with her, I'm happy that he's happy. I don't know if that's the case. I don't know anything in terms of that. But if they're still together, I'm assuming that there is a reason. If I'm feeling okay and I'm feeling happy the way that I am, so what is it that I am irritated about in that? Well, that was something that I always used to be irritated about because he wasn't choosing me, or because he wasn't breaking up with her, or because he wasn't, getting on his path of being a twin flame and all of that stuff, right? I was in that frustration because it is something that has always happened since the time that I've known him and that he's been in a relationship. Each time I would get annoyed, and that annoyance has sort of subsided as time has gone on. And as I've become more healthy in my attachment style, or I should say non-attachment, because I'm not attached to him or the outcome of what is going to happen. I am looking forward to whatever the universe is going to bring me in terms of how my relationship life is going to unfold, whatever that looks like. So I'm not stuck on the idea that it has to be him or that it has to be a certain way, right? That's the goal. That's what I strive to. And am I there 100% of the time? No, absolutely not. I mean, I would say that I'm there, maybe 80% of the time. And for me, I feel like that's good enough. So that one moment today where I was irritated by just that one little word, I was like, okay, I really need to sort of reprogram my body to not have that reaction anymore, because it's not necessary. It doesn't serve me anymore. I'm really good with where I am in this moment. I don't need that old programming coming in and showing up and tapping me on the shoulder and saying, hey, remember when you used to be really jealous? Hey, remember when you used to be really upset that this happened? Don't you want to be upset again? Don't you want to do this again? It's like that old version of you that's coming knocking at your door saying, yeah, but you forgot about me. Remember me? I'm the one that used to have all these feelings. And you can acknowledge that version of yourself. You can say, yes, I understand that you had a part to play in my trajectory of my life, but you don't need to do that anymore. It's not necessary. So that is sort of where I'm at now. And what is significant about all of this is just simply the time it has taken for me to get to this place. From one perspective, it's taken me a really long time, but then I look at all of these little tiny triggers that have happened over the last couple of days, and these tiny inspirations and all of these realizations. It's amazing to me how quickly they've all popped up and how I've been able to course correct my energy when it's needed. This is something that is a constant practice that you have to do, so those old patterns and those old beliefs and those old stories don't keep popping up again, because they're gonna pop up in certain situations that are similar, right? It's that energetic resonance of that particular situation that you had in the past. And your body and your whole energetic field goes, oh, I remember that. I remember how I felt when this was happening, so I'm going to feel that way now. Well, no, you don't have to. You don't have to feel that way now. You can say, okay, that was fine because I didn't have the tools back then to feel sad and upset that maybe the twin flame journey is not going to be completed in this lifetime, or at the very least, it's not going to be completed right now, right? You have to sort of be okay with not only letting go of that story, but then looking forward to the surprises, looking forward to the wonder and beauty of what the universe is going to be bringing for you, because you don't know what that's going to be yet. And sitting in that uncertainty is always uncomfortable. It's always uncomfortable. But I can guarantee you, if you get comfortable with sitting in the uncertainty and getting out of those old stories, what's going to unfold before you is going to be better than you could possibly imagine. So think about that for a moment. Sit in that uncertainty, take a deep breath. And if that uncertainty is scary to you, it's okay. It's okay. Acknowledge that fear. Acknowledge what it is that is making you fearful for that uncertainty. Is it because you're afraid that something worse is going to come up? Well, if you're in that space of letting go of that old story, letting go of that old vibration, if you can truly let it go out of your energetic field, it's not going to be able to be attracted to your energetic field anymore, right? Do a little exercise. Every time you have a story that comes in, I want you to ask yourself, is this story mine, first of all? Second of all, is this story still true right now in this moment? Is it still true? Was it ever true? Do a little investigation and see how that really helps you to change the course of how your day goes. I hope you have an amazing, amazing weekend, and I'm sending you all so much love. I want to thank you for joining me today, and I look forward to walking this journey with you and pointing the way on your spiritual journey. If you are interested in learning more about me and the sessions that I do, feel free to go to my website at infinitesoullove.com. On all social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Infinite Soul Love 1111.